Well, who would have thought that somebody, at least at Toei, is a total fucking piece of shit? Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this video on the Hawke Talks, I definitely wanted to make a follow-up video with the situation with TotallyNotMark and the 150 videos being claimed from Toei. Over time, obviously, he wanted to kind of put the situation on the side. Obviously, didn't want to completely deal with it at some point, or I don't know if it was permanent or not. I kind of forget the nuances of the story, but he definitely had a lot to deal with for sure, especially during the beginning of things. But there was a lot of support behind it. I made my own piece on it, on this whole situation. For not only for Toei, but YouTube, really have to step things up for these sort of situations from this forward, hopefully. Well, today, it looks like to be the case. TotallyNotMark pretty much won this thing, the situation. There was no lawsuit or anything like that, of course, but in the grand scheme of things, I think he won, in my opinion, big time. This is a pretty big W for the situation given, or the circumstances given, especially with Toei, right? But anyway, he made a video about it, explaining everything what happened, but TLDR. So what essentially happened with Toei and all this stuff was that Toei wanted to go, or they had to go through YouTube, and they essentially didn't get what they wanted, in short word. So Toei kind of took the matter to their own hands, pretty much breaking YouTube's policy, and they did it themselves, which they weren't supposed to at the end of it. And this was this is kind of where it gets interesting, right? They pretty much went through the videos randomly and marked them with their claim, essentially, disabling the earnings that Mark would get usually from his other videos. And like I said, it was random, because one video was claimed, but the other that pretty much did the same thing didn't. So obviously, it doesn't make sense to Mark and to pretty much everyone else once he revealed it. There was a list that was provided from the YouTube representative in USA after going back and forth with YouTube Japan and Toei, and essentially it became clear that this was a very, very shitty thing that Toei has done for themselves, just because they didn't like what Mark was doing in particular for some reason. Look, if you're gonna do something, you better have dead-eye accuracy. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do something like that to Mark, I would understand that if you're doing that for everyone else or a lot of people, right? And yet you only target one person, for the most part, it seems like. And not only that, you're still allowing these smaller channels that essentially put out the full movie of, for example, the Super Brawly movie, and you kind of just let it slide. That's one thing, but it's one thing that if you're gonna do it, you gotta you gotta be consistent with it, right? As shitty as that sounds still, but it makes sense. It makes more sense on paper. But for you to just go after this one guy and you don't even do it right, it makes it even worse for Toei, for themselves. So this is all the more grueling for their end, and this is pretty much a big W for Mark. They didn't go through the proper process of claiming these videos, even bothering to see if these things are fair use or not. And as we pretty much know at this point, fair use is pretty much in the fog, or doesn't even exist within Japan's copyright laws, as it was revised during the recent times. So that's why I guess they just couldn't see it, or somebody couldn't see it, and they were super blind of this happening. Now, granted, this could have been a work of an individual that doesn't like TotallyNotMark, and maybe Toei had nothing to do with it, but this person in question just happens to work at Toei somehow, maybe relatively higher up or something, I don't know. But you know, maybe at the end of the day, it is, you know, as a company, Toei, that you know, came as a whole after Mark. Who knows of the exact details, but doesn't really matter, I guess, for right now. I mean, it would be interesting to know, but for right now, this is a total victory from Mark, I think, in my opinion. Now, the thing is that, of course, now the other revelation in all this is that YouTube has now implemented a policy, something in their policy where you have to, you know, it has to be within the country's sort of boundaries, right? Meaning that since TotallyNotMark not only not lives in Japan, he lives in, I think, Ireland. He aims his videos for a different demographic. Like, you know, he doesn't necessarily aim his content towards Japan, which, yes, that's where fair use doesn't exist. But for the most part, his English content is likely going to be sort of catered to the English-speaking demographic, you know, the rest of the world, essentially. And so that's where those laws do apply, you know, and that's where the fair use sort of clause sort of exists. And so who is for Toei in Japan to sort of dictate those sort of things? You know, they have to see that. So it's like trying to get around the other country's rules to I don't know, fulfill their sort of, or satisfy their personal sort of vendetta of sorts. So what YouTube is doing now is that, since that is the case with Japan not no fair use, you know, sort of thing, they only block those videos in Japan. So yeah, that's where the fair use thing doesn't exist. So therefore, his videos aren't going to be shown in Japan as well. Probably that sucks, because I'm sure he wants to aim for a worldwide audience. Since he lives in a country where fair use does exist, and his, you know, demographic, most of his demographic, you know, have some sort of fair use sort of policy or clause written in their laws, especially here in the U.S. That's, you know, that's at the end of the day a content with fair use. I mean, he has been following fair use for the most part. I've seen some of his content, and yes, I mean, it's for the most part following the fair use sort of procedure. At least I think, anyway. So he's within that boundary, and I think pretty much Japan can't just reach out to countries that have sort of their own laws. So at the end of the day, I mean, the big question or the elephant in the room is that, well, are we allowed to, you know, do anime reviews now as long as we are doing fair use? I would like to say yes, but you know, just to play it safe, I probably would just stay away from doing that sort of anime content, or at least, you know, you can just put up a picture now, right? I mean, have your picture up now and then talk about it, you know what I mean? Now, if you want to take the extra step, I mean, that's your choice. I'm not here to say you can't do that or anything like that. Of course, that would defeat the whole purpose. But understand that, you know, Toei will possibly, you know, do something stupid again, because they did it to TotallyNotMark. So what would stop them from doing it again? I guess, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if they were to do it again, maybe YouTube will maybe step in and do something about that, huh? I don't know. Well, hopefully we will come to a point where the anime industry will see, the big companies within the anime industry will see the benefits of just letting people just do whatever they want, within reason, of course, right? Just like how the video games have pretty much embraced this whole thing. They have embraced it for the most part for a very long time now. And then Nintendo, of course, a big company in Japan, just kind of started to embrace that too, pretty much not too long ago. I think it was like back in 18, so, you know, 4 years, more or less. And, you know, look what got them, right? Pretty much. This, you know, this would be such a, you know, great thing for anime as well. Why, if it worked for video games, I don't see why it would be a detrimental thing for the anime industry. In fact, I think, you know, really allowing us to talk about it, you know, to really express it, you know, it would really entice viewers to really check out this anime A. You know what I mean? And again, this would be a very much a good symbiotic relationship, just like how video games work with content creators nowadays. They've been really thriving from each other, really. Video games get more sales, content creators get more viewership, essentially. There you go. I mean, it's a win-win for both sides, really. Well, and even if the content creator can't, you know, get the viewership, they kind of just get this personal satisfaction of getting their feelings out, their expression, their creativity too, along with that, out there for people to see. You know, even if the engagement isn't what they were looking for, there's something for something to be won either way for the content creator. So at the end of it, I hope to see that sort of thing with the anime industry. I think that they're the next big industry to sort of do that. I think movies sort of like are in a weird middle ground. Like they, you know, like some companies like having people react to their trailers. Some companies don't still. I think they should at this point just let people do that, at least when it comes to the more, you know, set pieces, or, you know, thought pieces, or video essays type of stuff. That's another thing too. But, you know, with the anime industry, they definitely need to do that, and especially Toei, they need to really sit back and sort of look at the big picture, look at the long-term sort of benefits of what content creators can do for them if they embrace it. It's, you know, it's just going to be good all around, I think. So I'm happy for that. You know, TotallyNotMark got pretty much a victory at this in this case, or in this situation, and I think this is definitely a good start of what could be really awesome in the future for the content creators and for the anime industry. Hopefully at the end, we'll see the end of the tunnel for this one, and we can all just do whatever we want for a reason, or within reason. Obviously, you can't just talk about Toei being, you know, bad because blank. You know what I mean? You can't just say things like that. You know, if you have a fair criticism and stuff like that, and you throw in whatever footage to make your point, that's the whole thing about fair use, right? You know, you're trying to get a point across, and I think that should be okay, right? That's fair criticism. So anyways, I can talk about this a lot longer, but I'm going to leave it here. Again, TotallyNotMark totally, well, won this whole situation here, and I'm happy for him. I'm also happy that this is a good start of what could be awesome, again, for us content creators and the anime industry. I would love to continue want to do more anime reviews, but I've always been really sort of like putting myself on the eggshell sort of road when it comes to this sort of stuff, especially with Toei stuff. I want to talk more about One Piece, right? But in the past, I kind of was sort of afraid to do that because of stuff like this could happen. But maybe I can start with a picture at least. All right. If you have any comments or anything like that, leave it down below. I'd love to see how you guys think about this whole Toei situation. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Really helps out, and I do appreciate it. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit the bell to notify all to know when I put out more videos in the future, if you like, you know, seeing stuff like this. So yeah, this has been the Hawke Talks on the update on TotallyNotMark and what could be possible for the future of this whole situation. And you know what, YouTube, I'll give you credit for what was done in this situation. Thank you very much. That's a pretty good start. Now hopefully you can keep that up with the other issues at hand. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao now.